Remember, not everything that breathes, walks, and talks is living. I'm Leo, and Bootube Breakdowns is here to prevent your spooky night from becoming completely dead. Today I'm looking at a highly recommended Korean horror movie, The Wailing. I won't waste your time the way this movie does. I'll give this movie a 6 out of 10, landing it in our Ghoul Drool category. Here's the twist, however. I already had to battle my demons in a dark cave to get this review for you, and in a few minutes, you'll see why The Wailing earned this score. If you disagree with it, be sure to interrupt the shaman's exorcism about it in the comments section. The Wailing is a South Korean horror mystery directed by Hong-jin, following Jong-gu, a bumbling police officer in the rural village of Gokseong, as he investigates a series of brutal murders and a mysterious illness causing villages to go mad and kill their families. The deaths coincide with the arrival of a reclusive Japanese stranger whom locals suspect is involved due to rumors of supernatural influence. Jong-gu, spurred by his daughter's infection, becomes desperate, encountering a shaman, Il-gwang, who performs rituals to combat the evil. The film weaves a tense narrative, blending psychological horror, folklore, and ambiguity, as Jong-gu grapples with whether the stranger, a woman in white, or the shaman is the true source of the malevolent force. Suspicion and paranoia escalate, leading to a harrowing investigation filled with disturbing visions and rituals. The movie explores themes of faith, doubt, and the unknown, leaving viewers questioning the nature of evil. Its chilling atmosphere and layered storytelling culminate in a tragic, ambiguous ending that lingers long after the credits. Now I want to discuss the story quality. The Wailing isn't your average haunting flick. It starts like one, but then yanks the rug out halfway through and keeps pulling until the floor's gone. What looks like a standard horror mystery quickly spirals into something way more unhinged. First, you think it's a ghost, then maybe a vampire, then maybe a ghost that used to be a vampire. And then, when you think you've got it, boom, zombies. Yeah, zombies, because why not? Despite the chaos, the story actually holds together surprisingly well. It juggles curses, possessions, and mass paranoia without fully collapsing under its own weight. Evil doesn't just haunt the town, it infects it, mutates it, and chews it up from the inside out. Structurally, it is one of the best horror scripts out there, fusing police drama with folklore and supernatural dread. Sure, it leans hard into the K-drama addiction of plot twist for plot twist's sake, and some subplots start to wonder like they got lost on set. But even when it gets messy, it's kind of messy that keeps you watching. You're not always sure what's happening, but you want to see what's happening. I'm giving the story a 9 out of 10 for building layered, escalating horror that sticks with you. Twists, corpses, and all. Now for the pacing, this is where The Wailing starts to unravel. It's not just slow, it's overloaded. Like 5 episodes of a K-drama got crammed into a single movie. It feels like this was a fully filmed series, and at the last minute, the studio said, sorry, you gotta turn what you have into a movie. And with a runtime of 2 hours and 36 minutes, it's a marathon that demands full emotional stamina just to finish. By the 2-hour mark, I had to pause. Not because I was bored, but because my brain needed a breather. There's just so much happening all at once, and none of it is small. Every scene swings for the fences, which sounds great until you realize the movie keeps swinging even after the plot's already hit the ground. The constant escalation gets exhausting, and that's a shame because underneath all the chaos, there's a genuinely great story trying to breathe. But when everything's turned to 11 for over 2 hours straight, it starts to blur together into noise. For me, the pacing gets a 4 out of 10. The script needed room to stretch, or someone willing to cut 45 minutes with a machete. Now the fear factor in this movie comes up a little short. Sure, we've got hauntings, curses, blood sacrifices, murder, and enough gore to repaint a house, but none of it really sticks. You see, the individual elements should be terrifying, but because the film is so wrapped up in its own story, the actual horror gets diluted. Tensions rise, then vanish, replaced by long stretches of dramatic buildup that feel more like a dark soap opera than a horror film. It's not that it's boring, it's just that the fear loses all its punch. It plays out more like an intense supernatural tragedy with horror sprinkled in. One thing I will give it credit for, no cheap scares. The movie actually has the confidence to let atmosphere and the stakes do all the work. No loud bangs, no fake outs, just creeping dread and quiet danger. That's rare, and for me, that gives it a final score of 6 out of 10. For the fun score, first I'll start here. I've said it once, I'll say it again. Nobody does zombies like the Koreans. Seriously, Train to Busan, Kingdom, and now this. They just get it. Add in a demon-coated Japanese stranger, some stunning practical effects, and you've got something that actually looks haunted. The curses feel handcrafted, and the shaman's exorcism scene, absolute chaos in the best way. Blood, drums, and enough screaming to rattle your spine. When the horror hits, it hits hard. But that's not all this thing's juggling. You want a slow burn murder mystery with some Korean noir flavor? It's in there. A psychological collapse from a cop losing his grip on reality? Check. Zombies, vampires, demons, possessions? Pick your poison. It's packed, and somehow most of it works. Not everything lands perfectly, but the variety and ambiguity more than make up for it. I do want to give the fun factor a final score of 8 out of 10. I know I already said in the previous segment that this does drag on, but like I said, when the horror elements do show up, they are intense and very well done. I had a lot of fun when they did come up on screen. The ending of this movie was tough to score. If you approach it as a sad, tragic drama with horror elements, it works. I'm still, however, left believing that this was supposed to be enjoyed as a horror K-drama like Kingdom. But this is a horror movie review, so gonna treat it as one. And as horror, the ending falls flat. After 2.5 hours of build-up, the payoff just isn't there. The twist with the shaman could have hit harder, but the film never gave us emotional ground to care. His relationship with the protagonist felt purely transactional, more higher help than trusted ally. So when the turn happens, you're left shrugging. Yeah, that's rough, but not 2.5 hours rough. Then there's the subplot with the deacon and the demon in the cave. Awkwardly dropped in and barely connected to the rest of the story. It feels like a cut scene from a different movie. And the mysterious woman, ghost, spirit guide, who knows? She's so detached from the core plot that by the end, her big reveal barely registers. Honestly, it all reeks of a bigger story that got chopped to pieces. Like this was meant to be a full series and someone at the studio last minute yelled, "Yep, it's actually a movie, figure it out." And that's a real shame because buried under the pacing issues and disconnected threads is a great concept told from multiple perspectives. Unfortunately, however, the ending gets messy, ambiguous, and just misses the landing. Final score for the ending, 3 out of 10. That's Bootube Breakdowns' take on The Wailing. Averaging our scores gives this movie a 6 out of 10, placing it in our Ghoul Drool category. All said, I would not discount this movie. If you have time, I still recommend watching it for its artistic value. Do you agree with my rating? Scream your score in the comments, and tell me what horror flick I should gut next. If this saved your spooky vibes, smash that like, share with your horror crew, and subscribe to Bootube Breakdowns for even more killer verdicts. Keep it creepy, and we'll haunt you in the next review.